super excited to share some context around what Scream is, a little bit about where we are, and as Ash said, maybe drop some alpha, including some visuals which the mods are going to be presenting. So before I dive into Scream, I do want to talk about where Scream fits into the grand scheme of things at Star Atlas. So Scream, I do want to talk about where... Sorry. So Scream to me is essentially its own title, and it's best explained with an analogy. So if the UE5 game is a luxury car, Scream is a skateboard, meaning that Scream itself is playable on its own without relying on future gameplay mechanics. So it's essentially a closed-loop game. So as I mentioned on the previous town hall, game mechanics are going to be more simple and will increase in depth over time in relation to the UE5 game, but Scream's release will start bridging the gap between our ship-staking game score and the UE5 game in a pretty remarkable way. So, well, what kind of game is Scream? Scream is a grand strategy, blockchain-native game that integrates politics, economics, and military gameplay mechanics of the Star Atlas metaverse. So, at a high level, the factions of Star Atlas will be fighting to expand their influence across the galaxy region from the local security zones towards more resource-rich and contested areas known as the medium risk zones. So each star system will become a potential battlefield where the Uster, the Oni, and the Mud will fight for the control of the galaxy's lucrative resources and territories while trying to expand their political influence. At the heart of this interfaction conflict will be star bases, which I guess in layman's terms are upgradable megastructures that will allow factions to control entire star systems while providing infrastructure for space exploration, resource gathering, refining, and much more. So takeaway here is that, yeah, a focal game loop here in Scream will be around constructing, upgrading, defending, or attacking star bases. So as players contribute to their faction, they will be rewarded for their services with loyalty points, or LP. The number of loyalty points that you acquire will translate into Atlas rewards, and will also allow you to acquire special rewards for your faction, such as more hangars for your fleet, consumables, and other exclusive assets. If you want to play the video now, that would be quite cool. Okay, so without getting into too much trouble, I do want to drop some alpha here. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is combat. So with respect to combat, at this moment in time, we're thinking that it's going to be deterministic and not instance and not turn-based. So players can only initiate combat with a ship or a fleet in the same location, and I guess by location I mean open space in a star system or in the dark areas between star systems, and also at planets and star bases. So when initiating a battle with an enemy, players will know both their own fleet and their enemy's combat score. So this is a very important concept. This is basically a quantitative metric that measures a fleet's combat ability and survivability. So based on the current design, players will be able to team up against other players to fight in almost real time. Now, another thing I can share is that starbases at this moment in time will have 5 tiers, and each upgrade unlocks an advantage for the player. So things like cheaper repair rates, warp cost, and access to planets with rarer resources. Yeah, so overall, we do have a lot of features and mechanics being built, like hangar spaces, but we want to iterate to validate and perfect game mechanics, like how combat will work exactly. So, you know, everything we outlined is subject to continuous playtesting and could change, but I did want to give an insight into our process at a high level. So, you know, typically chip and game design come up with a mechanic, and we carefully dissect the viability, feasibility, and usability of that mechanic. And, you know, if there's enough alignment across the stakeholders, then we freeze those requirements and send them over to the production team. You know, if that mechanic needs some adjustments, then game design iterates and the loop starts over again. Meanwhile, prototyping across many teams is ongoing, and things like, you know, economic modeling is being done in parallel to inform and validate those game mechanics. So within the production team, there are so many people. There's the engineering team, which includes blockchain and also the front end or the WebGL people. There's also the game economics team. There's the UX. There's also art, sound, UI, and we also do collaborate with marketing intelligence and other teams within revenue operations. So As you can see, it's a lot of moving parts that have to come together, but everyone is super, super passionate and super focused on producing Scream and, ultimately making sure that it's cutting edge and that it's a super fun and immersive blockchain native game. So yeah, that concludes my talk. So thanks everyone for attending, and it's been a delight having the community come together, and for giving me a time slot at such a historic event. Yeah, I'm gonna jump right back into Scream actually. So thanks so much everyone for having me. Hopefully that was enough alpha for you guys.
That was absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Mo. And we know